Into frigid temperatures after what we've been through.
Multiple storm warnings are in effect as Appalachia prepares for another round of strong winter weather. This as parts of Kentucky and West Virginia continue to grapple with high water. The latest on the system and what we could see here at home.
Plus, investigators begin to piece together what caused a plane to flip over in Toronto. What we know tonight as passengers recount their experience.
It happened so quickly, right? There's this giant pop crack, it's this super loud bang.
And in sports, we are just weeks away from the start of the MAC tournament. We have a look at the rest of the Bobcats regular season matchups. Newswatch starts right now. Floodwaters are receding in parts of southeast Ohio, but cold weather could pose a new risk. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Reese Thompson.
And I'm Sullivan Beach. A strong winter storm is making its way toward our area, prompting weather alerts in neighboring West Virginia and Kentucky. This as rescue efforts continue in those states after devastating floods. Meteorologists predict this system will bring record-setting cold to most of the central U.S. today, potentially hitting -60 in the northern plains and below freezing as far south as Texas.
The forecast has emergency responders in flood-ravaged areas rushing to finish rescues before it snows. Officials worry the combination of power outages, floods, and cold could be dangerous.
We don't want to lose anyone to frigid temperatures after what we've been through with basically water rescues in the middle of a snowstorm.
Officials have opened emergency shelters in Kentucky and West Virginia in preparation for the storm. Cold weather like this can be deadly, especially when water is involved. Experts say a wind chill of -20 can cause frostbite in 30 minutes. Hypothermia deaths can happen in 30 to 50 degree weather, and water makes it set in faster. We turn now to forecaster Isabel Isco with the latest on these cold conditions.
Isabel, taking a look outside, it already looks pretty cold, but how low could these temperatures go?
These temperatures, honestly, from these last couple of days have been almost miserably cold outside. And with these watches and warnings that are happening, like they were talking about in more of the West Virginia and Kentucky areas, that flood warning is going away for that West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky border tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But there is this winter weather advisory and winter storm warning that is happening more south until Thursday, and we'll just be getting residuals from that in southeast Ohio with these cold temperatures that are heading our way. Over these past 24 hours, we've been seeing those temps. They've been going throughout those teens, and today our high of 29. Combination with that wind, it has only felt like those mid-teens out there today. It has been frigid for today. Currently 25, but with that wind chill, it feels more like 11 currently in Athens. Tonight, making that overnight low to 14, mostly cloudy skies. And then as we go into these next 3 days, we might see some snow. I'll talk about that in my full forecast. Let's take it over to Reese.
Thank you, Isabel. New developments tonight in a case to overturn a Nelsonville ballot initiative. The Ohio Supreme Court has refused to take up an appeal challenging the initiative, which calls for a new city government. City officials knew the appeal was a long shot, saying it was unlikely the court would want to get involved given the initiative was passed in November. The initiative, known as Issue 23, will return Nelsonville to the former government it had 30 years ago, with power shared between the city council and an elected mayor. This marks the end of a month-long legal battle to invalidate Issue 23. The council is now placing an amendment to the city charter on the May ballot that would repeal Issue 23 and set in motion its own process for creating a new government. State officials are investigating an officer-involved shooting in Ross County that left one person dead. Just before 5 p.m. yesterday, Ross County Sheriff's deputies received an active burglary call at a home on Pleasant Valley Road. The caller told dispatchers the suspect had a firearm. While responding, deputies reportedly saw a person matching the description of the suspect just north of Chillicothe near State Route 104 and U.S. Route 35. The suspect was shot after authorities say he brandished a firearm at a deputy. The suspect was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. No deputies were hurt in the incident.
The Ohio Governor's Office looks to expand mental health services in the state, making it a priority in the state's proposed budget for 2026 and 2027. Governor Mike DeWine wants to allocate $39 million to expand mobile crisis services to all 88 counties. The proposed budget also asks for $72 million for Ohio's 988 crisis and suicide hotline. It would also allocate millions to open more state psychiatric hospitals. DeWine says these additional funds will help increase the availability of all crisis services for all ages. The proposed budget awaits a floor vote in the State House of Representatives. A new bill is also making its way through the Ohio Senate. It has been dubbed the Boneless Wings Bill. The legislation would allow a jury to determine if a restaurant or a food supplier can be held liable for an injury if there is a reasonable expectation the food doesn't contain a substance that could cause harm. The bill is in response to a viral ruling from the Ohio Supreme Court. Justices sided with a restaurant after it was sued by a man who got a bone stuck in his throat while eating a boneless wing. Justices ruled customers can't assume boneless wings are actually boneless since bones are a natural part of a chicken. The bill currently sits in the Senate's Judiciary Committee. And WOUB is your source for all news in Southeast Ohio. For the latest news across the region, head to our website, woub.org, or download the WOUB app.
An investigation is underway into what caused a Delta Airlines flight to flip upside down and catch fire while landing at Toronto Pearson International Airport. This as we hear the first-hand accounts from passengers. Michael Yoshida is in Toronto with the latest on the crash and investigation.
The National Transportation Safety Board of Canada is now leading the investigation into the runway crash at Toronto Pearson International Airport.
This would not be a time for us to have theory or to speculate on what caused the crash. We have a number of agencies that are here that are responsible for doing a thorough and full and complete investigation to determine all the causal factors.
While it's too early to determine a cause, Airport President Deborah Flint noted we saw unprecedented levels of snowfall from Thursday through Sunday.
In fact, it is more snow within that time window than we received in all of last winter.
Passengers described the chaotic moments when Delta Airlines Flight 4819 made its hard landing and flipping upside down.
It happened so quickly, right? There's this like giant like pop crack, it's this like super loud bang.
Evacuees jumped several feet from the door frames onto the snow-covered ground as sprays of fire retardant rained overhead.
Everybody was just like, get out, get out, get out. We could smell like jet fuel.
All 76 passengers and 4 crew aboard this jet survived, but at least 21 people were injured and 2 remained hospitalized as of Tuesday afternoon. Flint thanked first responders and flight attendants for preventing any loss of life.
The crew of Delta Flight 4819 heroically led passengers to safety, evacuating a jet that had overturned on the runway on landing that was amidst smoke and fire.
The National Transportation Safety Board in the U.S. is assisting in the investigation. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Michael Yoshida in Toronto.
Yesterday's crash in Toronto is the latest in a string of dangerous and deadly aviation incidents to start the year.
While aviation is off to a rough start, experts say the numbers still point to the skies being very safe. In its most recent safety report, the Trade Association of the World's Airlines says on average, a person would have to travel by air every day for more than 103,000 years to experience a fatal accident based on the 2023 safety numbers. Experts also say the preparedness of people around a disaster like those who responded to yesterday's crash make a difference.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong, yet still 80 people survived the accident. And what that tells me is just the preparedness and the attention to safety, everything that happened to make sure that these people were safe happened.
Aviation experts also note safety improvements that make aircraft better are able to protect passengers in the event of a crash. A major ruling out of Washington, D.C. this evening. Just over an hour ago, a federal judge declined to immediately block Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency from accessing government data systems participating in layoffs. The judge says while there are legitimate questions about Musk's authority, there isn't any evidence that would justify a temporary restraining order. This decision is part of a lawsuit filed by 14 states challenging the department's authority to access sensitive government data. The Attorney General argued that actions taken by Musk at the helm of DOJ can only be taken by a nominated and Senate-confirmed official under the Constitution.
U.S. and Russian officials met in Saudi Arabia for initial talks to end the war in Ukraine. Talks the Ukrainian president says his government, quote, knew nothing about. U.S. officials are characterizing the meeting as exploratory, but Russia is using the opportunity to push for what it wants. The Kremlin's demands include the removal of Ukraine's president, more territory ceded to Russia, and that Ukraine cannot join NATO. U.S. officials have not said if any of Russia's demands are on the table.
The goal is, and we agreed on what the goal is to bring an end to this conflict in a way that's fair, enduring, sustainable, and acceptable to all parties involved. What that looks like, well, that's what the ongoing engagement is going to be all about.
Ukraine was notably left out of the talks. The country's president says he will not sign any agreement negotiated without Kyiv's involvement.
It's right before Memorial Day, so make sure you're taking care of it now.
Coming up, come May, flying domestically will look a little different. The new requirement you need to know about.
Cold weather and snow is heading our way. Next on Newswatch.
In this episode, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard uncover their roots.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa!
Policeman stopped Honcho and another man. The trooper found burglary tools. Oh, here we go.
Your grandfather saved the life of a fellow soldier. Yeah.
I'm very proud of him.
Your ancestor was captured. It's mind-blowing. Please turn the page.
He was a spy?
I wasn't expecting that.
Tonight at 8 on WOUB.
Understanding the past gives a sense of the future. This is the first time that anyone has seen this in 2,000 years.
This is amazing.
Well, I'm excited now.
Pompeii is a battle against time.
You think I'm joking, but look at this. It did really happen.
Don't let anybody tell you who you are.
History teaches us to honor the past.
When you look back, you're like, wow, that was pretty special.
This is something that's actually altering the course of history.
You're charged with keeping these stories alive.
Hi, I'm Amy Brenneman. My family and I are enthusiastic fans of public media. Public television and radio strengthen our democracy. They educate our children and empower us all to be lifelong learners. Each PBS and NPR station is a local nonprofit organization committed to the local community. Public media belongs to you and me. It's up to us to protect this essential national treasure. Information on how you can help is found at protectmypublicmedia.org.
Looking at our temperatures for currently out there, it is 22 degrees in Athens. Those temperatures are starting to cool down. We'll be getting to that 14-degree mark tonight with a little bit of wind still in there from the day. So it'll be feeling a little bit chillier than that as we go into our night tonight. Mostly cloudy skies. With those watches and warnings, like I said, the flood warning that is happening on that Ohio border, that is continuing until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then the winter storm advisory and the winter weather advisory that is happening more south, but we'll be getting some remnants from it. It is going to be happening until Thursday night. Excuse my voice. 12 hours ahead, we are going to be seeing this small system making its way through. It will give us a little bit of a chance for some snow for our morning commute. And if we do get any snow tomorrow, it will not be very much. Looking at that 24-hour mark, we are still having this small system for southeast Ohio making its way through, mostly affecting as we go more south. But like I said, if we do get any snow, it will not be measurable amounts out there. Tomorrow, 20% chance of snow for that morning time, about that 7 a.m. mark, and then again at our Thursday night, closer to this time tomorrow. Our temperature high of 26. It will not be as windy as it was today, so it will feel more like a true 26, but that is still below freezing. It is still going to be cold out there. You're still going to need to be bundling up for that temperature low also of 14. Once we get to our Thursday, that system is going to be sticking around. We do have some purple in our pink in our southeast Ohio. That is mostly going to translate into some clouds for our week. but we might have a couple flurries here and there. Again, nothing too measurable for us in southeast Ohio. And then there is that large system making its way through as we head more south. 48 hours ahead Thursday night, we are still going to be seeing this system moving its way through this low pressure system before we have a little bit of clearing for our future. But 48 hours ahead, still looking more like clouds. There's not too much of that measurable snow making its way through. You might see a flurry here or there, just a few flakes. For our 7-day outlook, like I said, we're just looking mostly cloudy here in Athens. Wednesday, that 20% chance of snow, like I was saying, just in our morning time and our nighttime. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, mostly cloudy. It is going to be a kind of dreary week out there. Those temperatures aren't going to be breaking that freezing point until our weekend, and our low temperatures are going to be in the teens until that Saturday. Then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, our temperatures are going to start to be raising up a little bit. Monday and Tuesday, we don't have temperatures below that freezing point, so we really just got to make it through this week before we start getting into above freezing. Let's take it back over to Reese.
I'll make sure to bundle up. Thank you, Isabel. All this cold weather can only mean one thing. It is pothole season in the Buckeye State.
That's right, and there are always ways to keep your car running smoothly while also not costing you that much money. If your vehicle is damaged here in Athens, the city will consider covering the cost of repairs. Those who wish to be reimbursed should email the Engineering and Public Works Department with a police report, insurance claim, and a receipt for the repairs. If your vehicle is damaged from a pothole on a state roadway, then you can report the pothole and file a claim on the Ohio Department of Transportation's website. All interstate highways, as well as U.S. and state routes outside of municipalities, are under ODOT's purview.
Measles was declared eliminated from the U.S. 25 years ago. But now, new cases of the disease are popping up across the country, especially in areas with lower vaccination rates. Amanda Gaither takes a look at the latest CDC data and goes over the best ways to protect yourself and your family.
It's a highly contagious airborne illness that can cause rash, fever, red eyes, and cough. Severe cases of measles can also cause blindness, pneumonia, or swelling of the brain, and in some cases, death.
We're seeing these sporadic outbreaks of measles.
Dr. Daniel Koritzkis with Brigham and Women's Hospital says most of the measles illnesses now popping up in the U.S. are in young children. Last year, 285 cases were reported to the CDC. That's the most since 2019. And this year, cases are already emerging in several states. Experts say it's due to lower vaccination rates from misinformation. In Texas, there's an outbreak with at least 24 cases, and state health officials say that number is growing.
The vast majority are happening in people who have either not been vaccinated or whose vaccination status is unknown.
Koritzkis says the best protection against measles is vaccination. The first dose is typically given to children between 12 and 15 months, with a second dose administered around age 4. The CDC says older children and adults can also get vaccinated if they didn't receive the vaccine as a child. And the agency says if you were vaccinated with the first version of the measles vaccine used between 1963 and 1968, or don't know which type of vaccine you received, you should get at least one dose of the current measles vaccine.
People should just make sure that they are up to date with their measles vaccination and that their children are up to date.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The White House says it's preparing a new plan to tackle bird flu as it continues to spread in the U.S. Director of the National Economic Council and the Secretary of Agriculture are expected to lay out the plan. They say it addresses biosecurity issues and involves medication that would avoid killing chickens. The U.S.'s approach to bird flu has long been focused on eradication. However, that strategy may be shifting as the virus spreads to other types of animals and becomes harder to contain. Officials say their plan should be ready by next week.
Americans will soon be required to have a new way to verify their identity when flying domestically. It's called a Real ID, and it's a special type of identification card or driver's license that meets federal security standards. In most states, Real IDs will have a star in the right-hand corner. The deadline to update your license or ID is May 7th. If you don't get a Real ID by that date, you'll need your passport or other acceptable identification document to apply.
It's right before Memorial Day, so make sure you're taking care of it now. At the very least, if you don't have it, it's really going to hold you up at TSA.
To get a real ID in Ohio, you will need proof of a social security number, citizen's HIP, as well as 2 forms for proving your address, like a utility bill or bank statement.
Next in sports, as Ohio men's basketball season is winding down, find out more about their final games of the regular season. Plus, a look back to yesterday's girls' playoff games, including a thriller in Waverly between Alexander and Huntington. All that and more coming up next.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
When you put voices together, there's an energy in the air.
Keeping Black traditions alive, it's so important.
This story was meant to be told.
This feels so good.
Black people can also have those stories too.
It sounds like church, but it's speaking truth to power.
On gospel.
We see the rise of these gospel dynastic families.
They started playing it in the bars and the clubs. And, oh, we got so much criticism.
Choirs come of age as gospel goes mainstream.
Before you know it, gospel becomes an industry.
It makes you want to cry. It makes you want to sing.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Millions of Black people have migrated to the United States from Africa and the Caribbean. These immigrants redefined what it means to be Black in America.
The United States becomes a shining beacon. People from all over the world thought, I'm going to replant my roots.
I just love it in America. This is the best country for a Black person to be successful.
Tonight at 9 on WOUB.
Ohio men's basketball is in action tonight in the Convocation Center as they enter the toughest part of their season. Good evening and welcome to sports. I'm Josh Herner. The Bobcats took down Central Michigan by 2 earlier in the year, but the matchup this time around has big implications. Ohio is coming off of a 76-75 loss at the hands of Kent State on Friday night. After the Bobcats jumped out to an early lead, the Golden Flashes battled back in the second half and had the lead with under a minute to play. Despite Ohio's defense forcing crucial turnovers towards the end of the game, a game-winning shot fell short for the Bobcats. Ohio sits tied for 4th in the MAC standings alongside Kent State, trailing Miami, Akron, and Toledo. The Bobcats are only 1 game away from moving up to the 3rd seed, but Eastern and Western Michigan only trail Ohio by 2 games. The top 8 teams make the tournament as both the Broncos and the Eagles slide in as the final 2 seeds with a 5-7 record. While finishing their regular season off in Toledo. Ohio also has Central Michigan at home tonight in a big game while taking on Akron in their next contest, heading to Western Michigan, and before finishing with Miami, Eastern Michigan, and Toledo on their regular season. Ohio girls basketball has officially hit the second round across the state of Ohio as teams are looking to move ahead in their districts. 4 squads were in action last night across the TVC. The Triple Tomcats fell to the Portsmouth Notre Dame Titans 40-23. Notre Dame's Taylor Laswell led all scorers with 17 points, while teammate Laney Strickland grabbed 12 rebounds. Moving over to Waterford, where the number 1 seeded Wildcats took down the 8th seeded Clay Panthers 44-22. Senior point guard Kendall Surrey led the way with 16 points, and star teammate Avery Wagner followed up with 9. Over in Southeastern, the top seeded Federal Hawking took down Lucasville Valley 52-24. Sophomore Brentley Cottrell had a stellar stat line of 17 points, 9 steals, and 7 assists. The Lancers have now clinched back-to-back seasons with more than 15 wins. The final game of last night's slate takes us to Waverly, where the Alexander Spartans narrowly defeated Huntington 62-55. Alexander had a 20-point lead at half, and head coach Morgan Grinstead this start recognized this start was a huge part of their victory.
That was probably one of our best starts we've had this season. I'm very proud of how we started. A lot of things to work on in that second half that we didn't do well, but very happy with how we started tonight.
The Spartans head back to Waverly on Saturday to take on Portsmouth, while the Lancers will get their rematch with Portsmouth West Saturday at Southeastern. The Waterford Wildcats will also head back to Wellston on Saturday to take on Notre Dame. Two boys teams are in action across the 7-4-0 tonight, as the Athens boys will look to play upset to the Marietta Tigers, and the Federal Hawking boys will play host to the 18th seeded Clay in a district playing game. That's it for sports. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Josh. Still ahead, you've heard of dog sledding, but what about horse skiing? A look at a unique winter sports competition you won't want to miss.
It's a momentous struggle between a communist party and Tibetan civilization.
Anyone really caring for Tibetan well-being should care about Tibet being part of China.
People who respected the Dalai Lama are deemed to be enemies.
China believes in order to continue controlling Tibet is to have their own Dalai Lama.
Tonight at 10 on WOUB.
When I play basketball, I feel like there's nothing that can stop me.
Come on, ladies, clean it up.
In a few minutes, we're going to play Providence. Actually, being a senior, I really hope we can show that maturity.
Oh! God. My mom raised me in Cambodia, and I raised Ashley here, so everything is different.
She's not patient enough. Sometimes it's too rushed.
If Ashley ends up taking 99% of the shots, we're going to be in trouble.
Home Court, March 24th at 10/9 Central on PBS and the PBS app.
It's showtime!
Well, I think we can do a bit better than that.
I thought we might have a tea party.
At least someone's having fun.
Part of me needs to believe that everything will be all right.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
This story is mine, and no one is going to tell it but me.
Is she trying to break me?
I think she's wonderful.
Sunday on WOUB.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
Two teenage boys in California are lucky to be alive tonight after they got stuck at the bottom of a 50-foot abandoned mine shaft. This is the moment rescuers pulled one of the 16-year-olds to safety. Officials say he and his friend were exploring the mine shaft but became trapped while climbing back out when the rope snapped. Once rescued safely, he was taken to the hospital for only minor injuries. Definitely glad everyone's okay there, and a unique winter sport is taking Idaho by storm this season.
It's called ski joring, and it combines the worlds of horseback riding and skiing. Now, doesn't this look and sound crazy? Skiers are pulled by a high-speed horse rider through an obstacle course, grabbing rings for points along the way. Sure, it looks like frosty-filled fun in the Idaho sun, but these competitors aren't horsing around. A whopping 135 teams went head to horse-drawn head this year for a combined $10,000 prize. That is crazy. I mean, I can barely ski myself, let alone with a horse. Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd be falling over the second that horse started pulling me. So, like, good for those people for being that brave. I can't even believe that.
Yeah, I can't even ski, and I'm glad that there's not that much snow here, but that is not going to be flying where I am.
Yeah, I went to Breckenridge, Colorado, and I'm just glad I came back in one piece. But that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Support comes from Explore Hocking Hills, welcoming guests to the Hocking Hills State Park, providing an antidote to cabin fever with the great outdoors. Multiple cabins and lodges are available for a cozy soft season getaway. Information and details at exploreHockingHills.com. Support for PBS NewsHour is proudly provided by Luke S. Frazier.